Welcome, right, Rabbi Isai. We're learning Siman Tovtzadi. Seder Tfilas Yom Sheni Tfilas Chodesh HaMoed. We finished the halachas of the Omer. We're moving into the halachas of the davening of Yom Tov from the second day till the 8th day. Page 194. Sif Aleph. B'Yom Sheni, on the second day of Pesach, Koirin, we read Parshas Emor, the Parsha of Emor, Shorei Kesef Oyeis, at Sefer Inyan until the end of that Inyan, which discusses the Yom Tovim. The Maftir and Maftir, which means the Maftir, Koirik, maybe in Rishon, one reads the Korbanos, like on the first day of Pesach. But Maftir b'Melochim, the second Maftir, means Haftorah. Haftorah is read from Pesach, Yeshio, the Pesach at the time of Yeshio HaMelech. The Yishlach HaMelech ad v'acharov, le'kom komayhu. Right, Simchat Aleph. Sharei Chesef, the Mari Shom, Ben Yonah Karamoidim, Gam Shal Pesach. It discusses in Parshas Emor the Yom Tovim, including Pesach. At Sefer Inyan, Dain by David Moshe Esmerei Hashem. It concludes with Hashem said, "Book the Yom Tovim Hashem Bnei Yisrael." Kosra Poiskim, the Poiskis, as Sforim say, the Tov La'ases Piyam Sheni. People are not aware of this. It's good to make on the second day of Yom Tov a Suda, Ezer Dover, something. The Zeicher Sudas Esther. As a zeicher of the Suda of Esther, Shepayoim, Hahu Nisla Haman, because Haman was hung on the second day of Pesach. Now that is actually a bone of contention, although the Magen Avraham brings it down. And in fact, he says there's a hint to it in Haftarah on the first day of Pesach. I'm reading now Dushu 1. It says, Vayishbois Hamon Mimachros Ba'achram, that the Hamon stops in the time of Yeshua the next day. That's a hint to the word Hamon. The Hamon stopped on the second day of Pesach as being referred to on the first day of Pesach. Obviously, it's just a remez, but in fact, the Rashi Megillah writes that the 3 days of fasting that Esther had was the 14th, the 15th, and the 16th, and therefore it would appear that the 16th, the night following the 16th, which is the night of the 17th, he was hung, which is really the third day of Pesach and not the second day. But anyway, the Bishop Baruch is going with the understanding that Haman was hung on the second day. Says the Rishon Shulchan Aruch Sipes. Yom Shlishi, the third day of Pesach, Chodesh HaMoed, is Chol HaMoed. Arves Shachris HaMincha Mispalel Kedaragoy. So the Arves Shachris HaMincha davens the weekday davening. V'Omer Yadav Yavai, one answered Yadav Yavai. Don't forget to say the same bracha. V'Avodah and Yadav Yavai in Ritzei. And Le'amori, if a person didn't say Yadav Yavai in Ritzei, then the din is Machzirah, so he has to go back. He hasn't mentioned the Yom Tov in the davening. The person has a bread meal, he also mentions Yadav Yavai. But in this case, if he doesn't remember to say Yadav Yavai, he doesn't go back. And the reason is that since there's no obligation to eat a bread meal on Chol HaMoed, although the Chatchila, as the Dusha points out in number 3, in Siman Tov Kuf Lamed later on, we learn that the Chatchila one should have a Chol HaMoed on bread, day and night. But nevertheless, since it's not obligatory, therefore, since a person doesn't have an obligation to eat the bread meal, if he didn't recite Yadav Yavai, he would not have to go back. But davening is obligatory to go back because he does have to daven, he has to say Yadav Yavai in it. Of a Musaf, Mispalel Kaderech Shemispalel Musaf Shel Yom Tov, the Musaf on Chol HaMoed is the same as Musaf on Yom Tov. Hello, says it with a distinction. When it comes to actually reading the korbanos which are brought on that day, it begins with Kraftim Oila and Shnei Tamidim Kil Chasan, and doesn't begin with the actual korban which was brought on the first day of Pesach. This is only brought in the Ramah because the Mechaber, as we've learned already, the Mechaber holds that in the Musaf one just says Korban Musaf Nasiv and Nakriv, but according to the Mechaber, one that never specifies the korbanos which are brought on that particular day. One just says in general Nasiv and Nakriv. But the Ramah says we do specify the korbanos. He adds over here that the korbanos on Pesach are specified in the Chol HaMoed as they should be in the Chol HaMoed Musaf. Sivkot Gimel, Ein Machzir Nosai. If a person forgot he had a Yavai benching, doesn't go back. Sivkot and Gimel, the Davka B'Tfilah only in davening to lay Sagi to lay Spala because it's obligatory to daven. Kirish lay Spala, and if he didn't daven, then Karoi properly, he has to go back. To Hainu meaning if he's already finished taking 3 steps back, he goes back to Girish Menesra. And if he remembers in Simshalom or in Moedim, he goes back to Ritzei. and he adds in Yanav Yavli. Mashain came Beber Kasamazim Chalamoid, but benching is different. The boy like Achil Davam Chav Beber Kasamazim. There's no obligation to have bread on Chalamoid, no obligation. Therefore, if a person didn't say Yanav Yavli, he doesn't go back. Sheyechel parcel appears, he can eat meat and fruit. Okay, in Machzuna Sibachal Gavna, since there's no obligation to eat bread meal, there's no obligation to bench really, and therefore if a person did bench and it's Yanav Yavli, he doesn't go back. Ein Albazim and Kuf Peches Sivzain of Mishnah Brura of Bior Ha-Lacha. Says the Mishnah Brura Sivkot and Talad, don't read the Chedesh Harishon which he's read on the first day of Pesach, because the Chedesh Harishon discusses the korban of the first day as well. Rather, we'll start later, we'll start at the point of Vikraftem Moila. And of course, if a person didn't say the Psukim at all, we made a mistake in the Psukim, the din is he would not have to go back, because again, as we said, the Mechaber holds you don't say them at all, the specifics of the korban hayon. Sif Dalet, Sif Gimel, Noegin Shabiyantov Omer Es Yom Tov Mikra Kodesh Hazeh, Cholamoyed Omer Es Yom Mikra Kodesh Hazeh. That was the nusach of the Mechaber. But Ano Ein Noegin Lema, we don't say Mikra Kodesh Klal at all. Lo Biyantov Lo B'Cholamoyed. Mishnah Brura is going to say in Sif Kotten Hey, B'Cholamoyed. According to the Mechaber, one says on Cholamoyed. One says on Cholamoyed Mikra Kodesh, Yom Mikra Yom Mikra Kodesh Hazeh. Sivkot and Heish, Maminad, Cholamoid, Limit Yontif. You see the fact that Yontif is not specified on Yontif, not on Cholamoid. As Mashma, you can see that the implied Cholamoid is not called the Yontif. Which is what we the Rachman we add in benching on Yontif is not added on Cholamoid. Yontif Shechalias B'Shabbos, Kosveli Rabba Shim Rachman Al Kol Echad B'Fnei Yatzmai. If it's Shabbos Yontif, then one says Rachman Yan Chilenu Yom Shekol Shabbos Menucha L'Chayeramim. Then one says Rachman Yan Chilenu Yom Shekol Tov. But on Cholamoid, one doesn't say this Yan Chilenu Yom Shekol Tov. You see from the Shulchan Aruch that Cholamoid is not referred to as a Yontif. For Anu Einagin Loima, the Ramah says we don't say Mikra Kodesh in our davening on Cholamoid. Kos v'achroinim the achroinim disagreed in Minagin Loima Mikra Kodesh. We do say Mikra Kodesh bein b'Yontif bein b'Cholamoid. We do say Mikra Kodesh even on Cholamoid. On the other hand, we don't say in davening es yom tov. We just say es yom chag, whatever it is. Chag hamatzah says a mikra kodesh zecher etzias mitzrayim. There's a lot of discussion about this mikra kodesh. It's discussed again in Siman Tov Chof Tes Sivkot and Tezayin. Discusses whether it is or isn't called mikra kodesh. It could be has a sort of substandard mikra kodesh to Yom Tov. It's discussed later, as pointed out in Dirushu Stefan. Sif Dalet. Kol hayomim shel Cholamoid. All days of Cholamoid. Shnei yomim achronim shel Yontif, and the last 2 days of Yontif. Keren hahalal badilul k'may b'Rish Chodesh, when there recites Hallel, but not the complete Hallel, like one does on Rish Chodesh. Again, this whole simon is discussing the setup in Chutz La'aretz, where there are 2 days of Yontif achron. Says the Mishnah Brura, why? Why on the last 6 days of Pesach do we not recite full Hallel? Sif Katan Zayin Keren Hal Bediluk. Hal is recited with only in part, only a half Hal it's known as. Says the Mishnah Brura of Katan Zayin, Mipnei Shabiyam Shiva Shal Pesach Nitpu Mitzrayim, because on the 7th day of Pesach the Mitzrayim drowned. Omar Kadosh Baruch Hu said, my siyodai tovim b'him bayom, my handiwork is drowning in the sea. You can sing at that time the fire in front of me, and therefore we don't sing Shira on the 7th, and therefore Hallel can't be recited in full on the 7th. Since we don't recite Hallel on the 7th, we also wouldn't say the Cholamoid either. And it shouldn't be have more of a significance Cholamoid than Yontif Achron. And the Cholamoid, for example, if one would say with the complete Hallel, it would seem to have an upgraded status more than the Yontif Achron. Therefore, the entire Yontif from the Cholamoid and onwards, but doesn't say the full Hallel. It's interesting because later on, and in fact, in Siman Tov Rish Mendalet Tifkot and Dalet, and in fact, the Gemara in Erechen has a different reason. The Gemara in Erechen says that on Sukkot every day is considered an independent Yontif because there's independent korbanos, different korbanos every day, and therefore every day one says the Hallel. The full Hallel. However, on Pesach, the korbanos from Cholamoid and on all the same. So therefore, since the korbanos all the same, so therefore, in fact, the Holy Yontif is all the same korbanos. So therefore, one So therefore the status of Hallel is the same throughout Yom Tov, apart from the first day, which is apart from the first day, which is a full Hallel. It's interesting that the Mishnah Berurah here doesn't bring that reason. He only brings the reason that is brought in the Medrash. He prefers the reason of the Medrash rather than the reason brought from the Gemara. Yeah, and that question is asked by the Maharshal. Right, says the Shulchan Aruch Seif Hey. How does one remember the various laning Kriyas HaTorah that is on Pesach? There's 8 different Kriyas HaTorahs. How do you remember which is which? Siman HaParasha Shel Shminis Pesach. The Siman, the hint, the remez, the way to remember the different readings on Pesach is as follows: Meshach, Torah, Kaddish, Bekaspa, Psal, Mamadbara, Shalach, Bruchra. Pull ox, and be Mekadesh with silver, and the engravement, the pesel in the midbar, and send out your bechor. This list doesn't change at all. One exception: if Pesach falls on a Thursday, that means that means that the third day of Pesach will be a Shabbos, and on Shabbos we always want to name the parasha of Kisisa, Psal, and therefore we read the Psal, the parasha which is Psal, about the Luchos, making the Mirochos, is always named on Shabbos. In that situation, the first, second, and third day of Chol Hamoed, one will read Kaddish, Kaspa, B'dabra in that order. Mishnah Berurah Sivkot Ches. Meshach Torah of Heim Smari Oshri Parashas. These 8 words are is an allusion to each one of the 8 parashas. That means in the first day Mishchol Khu Parashas Boy. That is Meshach. Yom Sheni Shari Kesef, which is Torah. Yom Shlishi Kaddish Likol B'chor, which is Kaddish. Yom Revi'im Kesef Talva is Kaspa. Yom Chamishi P'Soloch is Pasel. Yom Shishi Madbro, which is Baleischa. Hainu V'Dabra Midbasinu V'Yasu B'nei Yisrael is Posach, which is Baleischa. Yom Shvi Parashas B'Shalach Shalach Buchra. So Mishmini Buchra Kol B'chor She'Volit. That's a hint to know all of the 8 Kriyas HaTorahs that we read on Pesach. So if Katan Test, Koire, it's important, however, that whenever Shabbos is Shabbos Chol Hamoed, one lanes the Psal on that day. Why? Because that parasha of Psal, of Re'eat HaOmer discussing discusses Shabbos as well, and therefore we always want to read that laning on Shabbos. If Chol Hamoed, again, so if Shabbos Chol Hamoed falls on the first day of Chol Hamoed, then one juggles things around. Juggles the Chol Hamoed Kriyas HaTorahs around to ensure that Psal is laid on the Shabbos.